This is the Roller and the Stroller podcast. I'm Josiah, the roller, and I was born with cerebral palsy and navigate the world in a wheelchair alongside my best friend Kelly, the stroller.
In this podcast, we discuss living with a disability, adapting to surroundings in a wheelchair, and the challenges we face together. We talk about things like going to concerts, traveling, everyday tasks, and sports.
But also get into deeper topics like religion, self-talk, medical needs, and some of the frustrations of using a wheelchair. We will give insight on how to enjoy life with a disability
and share advice on how to understand someone with a disability.
Welcome to the Roller and the Stroller.
This podcast is a Sidewallstudios production.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Roller and the Stroller podcast. My name is Josiah. I'm your resident roller, and today I'm here with my co-host, Kelly. Say hello to the people.
Hi, I'm Kelly. I'm the stroller.
And what are we talking about today,
So today
Kelly?
we're talking about comparisons specifically in disability, which is going to be an interesting conversation because I don't know where I'm going to go with this, but it's been on my mind for quite some time about how people kind of compare their disability with others, or also how people compare themselves, like that don't have a disability, with those that do have a disability. So I just kind of want to get your opinions and your thoughts on how you feel about certain scenarios when disabilities are used in comparison.
It's gonna be spicy. All right, here we go.
You've mentioned this before, that people have come up to you and have been like, man, I could never live your life. I could never do that. Or I could never live like that.
Or
that would suck.
You're so strong.
And to me, that's kind of a comparison.
First of all, bitch, I ain't strong. I ain't strong.
You very strong. Okay, so but the first I want to start off with talking about somebody that my cousin, shout out to her. Her daughter has CP. Her daughter, I think, is like 11 or 12. Please don't quote me on that, but she's young, and she was also born with CP. She's not in a wheelchair, but she definitely has, struggles with her CP as well.
Mm-hmm.
So my cousin wrote a statement about her daughter, and I would like to read it to you. She goes, I think that it's so awesome that y'all want to bring awareness about CP. It's way more common than I ever knew. There are so many kids like, her daughter's name is Lindsay. I'm just going to say it. So there are so many kids like Lindsay, but we never knew until we became part of the family. She follows a girl on YouTube named Throw Lefty. She has taught Lindsay how to put her own hair in a ponytail, which I thought would never happen. The milestones that I thought would never happen in the past have all happened just at their own time. Lindsay has the best sense of humor, the most willpower out of all my kids, is a great doodler, loves each of her toys equally, knows a ton of actors and singers' birthdays and interesting facts about them, has a great memory, loves to tell corny jokes, she loads the dishwasher the best out of all my girls, and loves Christmas music all year long. Her favorite show is Little House on the Prairie, and she likes old-timey music. She's incredibly immature in her emotions, though. She can't seem to control them yet. She fights most with her little brother because he knows how to get under her skin easiest. I can't believe she has made it up to 13,600 feet up Handy's Peak. That's a 14er. So she attempted a 14er. We were so close. Dang, altitude sickness got the best of her one day. Smiley face.
First of all, how cute.
Little House on the
Second
Prairie.
of all, who does that remind you of? Me.
It does?
Everything. Well, almost everything. Like corny jokes.
The memory
The
thing.
best sense of humor. Loading the dishwasher. The best.
Debatable.
The best. The best.
I think the memory thing for sure.
memory thing?
You have a wild memory.
And one of the things she said, which I thought was really wonderful, the milestones do happen just at a different time. Living with CP, things are just going to take more time. And it took me until this year really to be like, okay, this is my body. This is how I have to do things.
In a sense, me just reading that, we've already started to compare her disability with yours. And I don't always think comparisons are a bad thing. How do you feel about that?
I don't think they are either. It's often said comparison is the thief of joy. Just live your life.
Mm-hmm.
And we have different diagnoses of cerebral palsy, and it affects, we have the same diagnoses, but we have the same disability, but it affects us differently. I use a wheelchair, she does not, for example. Me relating to her in that way is a good thing, but if I say things like I have it better than her, that's not necessarily true, one. And 2, I think that's just a negative mindset to have.
Sure. I'm coming from a place where I feel there is sometimes really healthy comparisons. So I think sometimes if I'm teaching my lacrosse girls how to play better, I'll be like, and we played a really good team, I will point out what the other team did and be like, as opposed to what we're doing. So we need to change this to be better. So I think there's a healthy way to use comparisons, in a sense, to learn to open each other's eyes, open your eyes and dream. Shout out to Thrice.
Again?
And so I just feel like I want to make it clear to our listeners that comparison, I feel, is a natural part of human life. But as soon as it starts to get negative, or as soon as it starts to beat you down or beat somebody else down, that's where we should stop.
Yeah, and there's context for that. If you're playing a game and the other team just scored on a sick move or whatever, and they cut to the net and scored a goal, you're going to use that as a coaching point. So there's context there.
Yeah.
But you're not saying to your team, your girls that you coach, they're just better than you, and that's why they scored.
Right.
You're saying we can learn from what they did, and I think that's different than saying my life sucks and yours does not.
Yes.
Kind of like that guy said to me during that recording.
The religion recording?
He said, your life is good, but my life is great.
Right.
I think that's really negative.
Totally.
And to use it as a coaching point, there's context there that I think would team there. But if we're talking about the way that we live life or the way that we do things, it's not going to be beneficial. Like, who are we racing against?
Ourselves.
Yeah.
Or the media, or
Or what
Instagram
society
influencers.
tells us to is like achievable by 30. I'm almost 30. So like
I'm past 30.
they're always like, you should have this, and this by 30.
It ain't
and
gonna
I'm
happen. So I imagine, and I know this because I've said this to you, at least you can wheel yourself around. I've said that on the podcast multiple times. How do you feel about that?
I'm very grateful for the fact that I can wheel myself around. But saying to me, you can wheel yourself around, does not negate the fact that some people can't.
Right.
And does not negate the fact that I have pain or that this sometimes sucks.
Tell me about a time, if you've had one, where somebody might have said, well, at least you're not in that condition, or at least you don't have that disability.
Yeah, with paraplegia is like all 4 limbs are disabled. In some cases, it's up to the neck. So like they cannot move at all. That doesn't help them to say, at least you're not, that doesn't help me to say, at least you're not in that situation.
Right.
I am only in the situation I am in. I don't pretend to have other disabilities. I know that I am even fortunate on the spectrum of cerebral palsy. Like, I could have it, here we go, way worse than others. However, I can only live through my lens of the cerebral palsy that I have and how it affects my body. And so having a comparison of like, at least you're not a paraplegic, or it doesn't help me.
Or like nonverbal or something.
And I think it's always like that look at the bright side thing, but I'm trying to tell you about something that I'm going through that could directly be caused by my disability.
Have you ever met somebody with a disability, like hung out with them?
Yeah.
Do you guys have conversations about their disability versus yours?
No.
Okay. Is that something you'd be open to?
Yes.
Okay.
They're largely uncomfortable.
Really? Why so?
Because they're like, oh, you can do this and I can't. And like, we start going down the rabbit hole of like the things that we can do and the things that we cannot do. And I don't think that helps anybody.
Right. It's the negative part of it.
Now, sometimes it is nice to be like, oh, your body hurts there too. Or like you struggle with this too. That's all well and good. But as soon as I'm like, I am grateful I'm not in their position, that is a bad mindset to have, in my opinion. Because I'm already grateful. I'm grateful to be living. Life is a gift. And if that sounds very cheesy, it's almost like incredible that we get to wake up every morning, okay?
Oh, totally.
And so it's just like, I'm thankful for that. And being compared with other disabilities. Like, I will never know, for example, what it's like to have muscular dystrophy. I will never know what it's like to have multiple sclerosis. For me to compare that or say, yeah, I kind of get that too, does me no good, and it does the person I'm talking to about it no good either. So it's nice to relate on one hand of like the pain, but you're often relating on the negative side, like, oh, you have pain in your body and you can't do these things. And like you're relating to them because you can't do things. And it's often on the negative side.
Yeah, and I think part of this podcast is to show and tell you can do all these things, Nemo, that you can do things just altered or maybe at a different pace, and you just find a different way to navigate it. And that's a huge word we use all the time is navigate, and it's very true. You have to kind of figure it out as you go. Do you feel okay with you being lumped into like the word disability? Because there's so many disabilities. Do you ever wish that CP kind of was its own separate thing that could get more focus, or do you care?
I don't mind being CP being labeled as a disability, because it is. The disability community is just that. It's a community. And so we all kind of recognize we may not have the same disability, but we're all disabled by our environment and society in some way. And it has nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with the world around us and the environment. And the society at large has not caught up with to be welcoming and accessible to all types of bodies. So I don't mind it being categorized as a disability, because that's what it is. And you can use the word disability in my mind. And some people disagree with that, and that's fine. So I don't mind that. And then, but I often find it challenging to compare other disabilities to CP, because they all affect us differently. But I am able to like think for myself, get dressed, and have my mental faculties. And like some people have that, but they just have to communicate differently because they're not able to communicate verbally. But that doesn't mean they don't have mental capabilities or thoughts of their own or whatever. And so to compare my own disability to other disabilities out there, I think does a disservice.
I agree.
Because I don't know what it's like.
Agreed.
I know exactly what it's like to have this version that I have of CP. But even with your cousin's daughter, I don't know what it's like to have that version of CP. I know we have the same disability, but I don't know what it's like. And so for us to compare, now we can relate, and we can certainly talk about this, and we can certainly have conversations on this podcast, which is one of the reasons we started this podcast, right? But I just feel like comparing does nothing for good for us.
How do you feel about people comparing themselves when they don't have a disability to those that have a disability?
I hate it. The guy in the recording, assuming my life is good, but his is great. So because he can walk.
When you are on Instagram and you see a video of, and thankfully it has not happened on our Instagram, go follow us, the Roller and the Stroller Pod.
We're really popular on there.
Super popular. But Story of the Year has liked some of our stories. We're excited about that. But when you see a video of a person in a wheelchair and someone comments, I would just not want to live anymore, or thank God I'm not like that, or this person should be thankful because at least they can do this.
I hate all of that.
Me too.
I hate all of that.
Me too.
Like, even like we talked about you going to concerts with me, because it's our favorite activity to do.
We're going tomorrow as of recording. Shout out to Silverstein.
But people are like, oh, you are so kind for doing this with him.
Yes.
I'm like, that's true. You are kind. At the end of the day, we're best friends, and you're not my friend because I'm in a wheelchair, and it would give you some sort of clout to be seen in public with me. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know if it makes you feel good when people say that to you. Like, you're so kind, or like, I could never do what you do for him. And some of that is true. Like, you do incredible amounts for me because we're besties, and you're just a lovely person. And I love you with all my heart.
And single.
However, and gentlemen. But it's not because of my disability and because it would give you some credit. I would hope you're my friend because you like me as a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not because I'm trying to get clout out your wheelchair, your
Yes.
wheelchair.
And so when people tell you, like, you're so kind, or people talk to you first, or people say, I could never do what you do. Okay. So,
I think there's never been anybody that said that to me. I could never do what you do. No one's ever said that to me.
no, when people say that to me.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like me being your friend or like me helping you with all these things. That one lady, and I said it on the podcast, who came up to me and was like, hey, thank you for doing that. And I was like, whoa, because like I never thought of that. That's kind of been like the only scenario. And then one other person has just said like, you're a really good friend. But nobody has been like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine how you are friends with a wheelchair user or how much energy that takes or whatever. Like, I don't know.
That's good.
There have been people that have said to me, without you around, I could never live that life being in a wheelchair. And I'm like, yeah, you could.
Yeah, you could. 'Cause
Yes, you could.
People do it. There are 1 million people with CP in the United States alone. When people tell me that they can't live that way, I bet you they can. It'll suck for them probably, especially if they acquired it.
Has anybody ever told you, like, suck it up, it could be worse?
Yeah, it makes me feel not great.
Sure.
Because first of all, it's like they're right, but also they're not right because fuck you. You don't know what this is like.
Yeah.
I know like it could be worse. I know like there's no way.
And there's times
If I
where
was
we're
in a
like,
different body,
at
like,
least you can move. I mean, at least you can use your arms. At least you can roll yourself. At least, you can do all these things.
yeah, but have you ever felt what it's like for your legs to do nothing?
I've never.
Beats. Don't fucking come at me with that shit.
I know. Do you see a lot of comparison in the disability community?
No.
Good. How about people outside the disability
We see a lot of like talking about it and saying, I have that too because I have the same disability. Mm-hmm. Or we have different disabilities and we say, how do we change our clothes? Mm-hmm. Or how do we go to the bathroom? Those types of things. And I really like that because it's like, oh, how would a person with cerebral palsy and a person with muscular dystrophy say, get dressed?
Yeah.
Are we able to get dressed the same way? Like that kind of thing I like. But when it's like, oh, when it's saying cerebral palsy is not as worse as muscular dystrophy, that doesn't do anything because both of them exist. And you cannot have their perspective because you do not have muscular dystrophy, and they cannot have your perspective because they do not have cerebral palsy. At least I have stayed away from the comparison where it's negative.
Yeah.
And is like, well, I have this and you don't, so be grateful. At the end of the day, who is that serving?
Be grateful. Yeah.
Who is that serving? And who's to say I'm not grateful? I'm grateful to be alive. Mm-hmm. I'm grateful to have a friend who is as great as you and my family in good health and here. But I am allowed to acknowledge that sometimes having cerebral palsy is a challenge without it being like, I'm just complaining about my cerebral palsy.
Totally.
I'm not inviting someone to say, at least you don't have it this way. Mm-hmm. Because that's not what I'm feeling. I'm feeling like my cerebral palsy, my situation, my disability is what sucks. Does that even make sense?
No, I agree with you. I was
that-
just wondering because it's like, I would never, if I had cancer, I wouldn't compare my cancer to someone else's cancer, or like you just don't do those things. But there are some people that it does bother me a little bit when I see like a wheelchair. I follow a few wheelchair users on Instagram and I just see the comments and I'm just, and I know Instagram is just terrible and TikTok is terrible, but I just can't believe people think that way. It boggles my mind.
They do.
It's terrible. Don't be that guy.
And like so to wrap it up a little bit, I don't know what it's like to be your cousin. She could have so many challenges that I don't have, or whatever.
Yeah. Lindsay, you're talking about Lindsay. Okay.
That little snippet that I heard about your cousin's daughter.
Yeah.
Sorry, is like all I know about your cousin's daughter and her disability and her experience having cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
Which is not the same as mine.
Right.
And it's not supposed to be. Should we end this episode?
Let's end it. I'm hungry.
So put a little bow on this episode and give me your musical recommendation.
I don't want to do a Christmas song.
Okay, you can do whatever you want.
Actually, are we doing Christmas songs?
No, we can save it for another episode.
Well, now I gotta rethink mine. You go first.
My musical recommendation for today, in the spirit of the holidays, is called Merry Xmas.
What is that by?
Ice Nine Kills.
Oh, gosh.
Merry Xmas.
So we are doing Christmas songs.
No, that was just going to be... Do you want me to have a different one?
No, but if you're going to do a Christmas song, then I'm going to do a Christmas song.
Because mine is Merry Xmas or 'Tis the Damn Season, both of which are Christmas songs.
Fine, I will also do a Christmas song, and I bet you can guess what it's going to be, who it's going to be by.
Taylor, whatever her face is. Taylor Momsen.
No.
Where are you, Christmas? Why can't I find you? Why have you gone away?
No, that's not it. My world is changing. I'm rearranging. Does that mean Christmas changes to you? No. Guess what mine is? It's the only band I ever care about.
Carol of the Bells by Thrice.
That is my recommendation.
Do you listen to any other bands besides Thrice?
Thrice is MVP. Top tier.
Okay.
Number 1. Love them. Love you, Dustin.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to The Roller and the Stroller. We hope you have a great
holiday
life.
Season.
Oh, yeah, that too. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Roller and the Stroller podcast. We're rolling out.
This is a Sidewall Studios production.
Boom! Oh, we should keep that moving.